I think we're good to go. All right, well, Renee, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Today we're going to talk about, actually we're going to have a lot of fun in the next hour. We're going to talk about how to become a rock star bean counter overnight. Now let me ask you guys a question, and gals. Who doesn't want to be a rock star out there, right? Everybody does. I think that's pretty common, especially if you're as old as I am and lived back in the 70s. Being a rock star was pretty cool. But today we're going to talk about the significance of being a bean counter. And what does that mean? What does a bean counter mean to you all out there? I'd be kind of interested to know some of the responses. We're going to cover a story on bean counting today, and we're going to talk about how being a good bean counter can actually really increase the bottom line for your trading. So a bean counter can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. So I want to get started and talk a little bit more about that. Before we get going, of course, I have to always talk about the risks involved in trading. But you know, without those risks, there's never any opportunity. So the two always go hand to hand. And please visit us at traderscoach.com. Renee already introduced me, but we'd love to have you come and visit the website at any time, or purchase some of our books online at Amazon. You can read some of the comments here. We've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been trading for about 27 years right now. And we have lots of clients all around the world in over 80 countries right now. We do coaching, we have software, we talk about risk control and money management. So today we're going to focus pretty much on a trader's money management system, that book on the far left, the first one. And you can check out our other books as well. Little story first, back in the 1990s, when I was living in the Upper East Side of New York City, I was basically just starting out. There was not a lot of information in the markets then. And I was looking for a record-keeping system specifically designed for traders. And when I looked, I really found there really wasn't one, and there wasn't one that was detailed enough to do any good. So I really decided to set out for myself and design one. And my wife currently was a graphic designer in New York, and she built a custom system to my exact specifications. I told her what I wanted, what fields I wanted, and so forth. And then she made it so it could be photocopied, so I could reproduce things like trade posting cards and ledgers that I would need to use during my trading. She went to Kinko's and printed out the very first version of what we call the Trader's Assistant record-keeping system. And this system actually has been reviewed a lot in Stocks and Commodities magazine, and it's very popular today. And it's funny because when I first designed it, I really didn't have any intention of selling it. It was basically for me, and I think I try to do that with most of our products. I really do them because, you know, I was a trader and I like to trade, and so these products were for me. But then when I found that there was a need for some of these out there, we decided to go ahead and market them. All right, so when I started using my custom Trader's record-keeping system, I found what it did is it instantly organized me as a trader, but it also changed my trading profits as well, because I was able to analyze my results. I think that's really, really important. Let me ask a question out there. How many out there are usually at the end of the day pretty tired, okay? And you get to the end of the day and you know you should do your record keeping or go over your trades, but you don't. All right, how many people fall into that category? Quite a few, I'll bet. And I get that, okay? I can relate to that. But it's really important, okay, in order for you to improve as a trader, to go over how you did each and every day. It's kind of like if you run your own business and you do your own accounting every day, whether it's through QuickBooks Pro or whatever, you need to be on top of it. And the same thing with your trading and trading results, because you're going to be able to uncover a lot of clues on how to improve your trading as you go along in this process. So let me go back now and a little bit more about the first version of the Trader's Assistant record-keeping system. It's really one in which that we haven't changed really that much, because it was so inclusive in the beginning that we really didn't need to update it. However, we did update it for things like Forex options and so forth, because Forex with pips and so forth, we needed to update the trade posting cards. But the general theory and format of it is exactly the same. But let's talk a little bit now about bean counting. I think with that, I think it's important to realize when we talk about bean counting is that we're all kind of on the same page here. And it's really all about the beans, all right? And what are the beans? That's the money, all right? It's all about your profits and what you do with them and how you make it. And for those of you that know me and have watched me on TradeStation's Wednesday morning briefs, or have we've run into each other at the trade shows and so forth, you know that I'm a coffee lover, okay? And that's why I've also called this bean counting, because of the coffee beans, all right? But one more tip I might have for you here that could help you, and they're finding out that actually coffee is pretty good for you, and I've known that for a long time because I'm a big coffee drinker. But coffee will keep you alert and actually make you a better trader. All right, but anyway, back to bean counting. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is a story that illustrates the importance of bean counting. And I have to go back to a story on Henry Ford. And Henry was a true creative innovator and not really a fan of accountants or bean counting. He was an idea guy, okay? But even Henry needed a bean counter, and Henry's bean counter was Norman Cousins. There was a great movie on Ford that went over this as well. But you know, we're going back in the late 1800s to early 1900s, and it's funny because you still need bean counters. All right, but what happened in the early years of Ford Motor Company was that Henry had a habit of getting caught up in the romance and passion of his beautiful automobiles. And he sometimes forgot about the pesky details of making a profit. And I think as traders, we can all kind of sympathize with that, because, you know, as traders, we love trading, and we're getting into testing, and we're getting into the actual day-to-day processes of going in and out of the market. And let's face it, we love doing that. We love analyzing charts. And sometimes, you know, we lose track of actually counting the beans, or it's not a priority as entering and exiting markets and so forth. So, you know, we can relate a lot to Henry Ford and the fact that his passion was in creating cars and being a mechanic. Our passion as traders is all about trading the markets. And so we kind of take a secondary look at bean counting. And I'm also too, with risk control, you want to have risk control as important as any other aspect of your actual trading environment. So that's another topic for another day. But let's stay on the topic of bean counting here. So you know, I think we can see some similarities between Henry Ford and our business as traders. All right, and it's very easy also to get distracted from actually focusing on the day-to-day profit and loss, as well as, of course, monthly and quarterly results too. At one point, Ford didn't even have enough money to make payroll, and his employees were not going to get their paycheck. It was then that Ford's accountant, Norman Cousins, directly disobeyed Henry's order and shipped a railroad car full of 50 automobiles before Henry had inspected and improved them. So here's an example where Henry was so into creating the automobile and making last-minute adjustments and so forth on his own automobiles, and yet they were sitting in his warehouse ready to be shipped, but he had a standing order that he would not ship these automobiles until he actually looked over each and every one of them. And of course, that takes a lot of time. And the problem with that was that, you know, his bills on running his business were mounting up, and he really wasn't keeping that close an eye on those type of bills. And he had his accountant or bean counter, Norman Cousins, and who was watching everything, and said basically, if I don't ship these cars today, I'm gonna lose everything. We're not gonna have a company. So he went ahead and did it without telling Ford. And of course, Ford was furious when he found out, but it was something that had to be done because the reality of profit and loss eventually catch up to each and every person. So Norman Cousins, being a bean counter, was actually crucial to Ford's survival because he was counting the beans. He was watching the money and was able to see the big picture. Cousins could clearly see which priorities mattered and what steps needed to be taken to stay in business and not go bust. Okay, it's no different for us as traders. No different. We have to stay in business. We have to take a step back sometimes and get our heads out of the charts and see where we are from a business point of view running our own business, because we're all entrepreneurs, right? All right, so needless to say, Henry's furious when he found out the cards had been shipped without his approval, given that he was such a perfectionist. But Henry was surprised and happy when he found out how much money he had made because his accountant had shipped the cars. So you see, when he took a step back, he actually saw the bigger picture and realized it was the right decision that Norman Cousins made on that. All right, so basically what we can take from this is without Cousins, Henry Ford would never have been able to be the visionary that history remembers him. And so we learn an important lesson in trading survival. The bean counter is essential. So don't forget that. I think it's a great story. I think it's a fun story. It's a great movie too. You should see the movie. It's called Ford. It came out a long time ago, but it's a great one. And it really highlights that. And so Henry's story clearly shows that even if we are not big fans of bean counting as traders, if we want to achieve consistent and lasting profitability, we do have to keep an eye on the profit and part of the equation at all times. So the profit really is part of what we need to focus on in addition, all right, to entries, exits, and charts and so forth. All right, so I'm going to talk about 5 steps that are going to help you or get you on the right path in terms of being a bean counter. All right, first thing we're going to talk about is set up your record keeping system now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Do it now. All right, every day spend about 15 minutes tracking your data. And that doesn't mean your market data. That means your P&L data, okay? Some of you may be day traders and you may have a lot of trades, so it may take a little more than 15 minutes. Other people may have a lot of positions trading going on and they're in and out closing the markets with enough activity to keep them pretty busy. But you don't want to not do that, all right? Make that part of your daily routine. You know how some people like to go to the gym, 3 or 4 times a week and they're consistent about it? Make this a consistent part of your trading environment. Always keep your eye on the ball when it comes to your trading performance statistics, because once you have a record keeping system, guess what? You can then determine your statistics, and you can also determine, where your weaknesses and strengths are. I mean, you cannot fix your weaknesses unless you know what they are. So this is what record keeping is going to do to each and every one of you, and it's an integral part of really becoming a great trader. All right, so let's talk about set up your record keeping system now, not later. A little more detail here with this. All right, I'm going to share a little more about the first version of the Trader's Assistant record keeping system to you now. Luckily for you, here's a system already set up that you can easily copy. And basically in front of you now, you're going to see some trade posting cards. And again, I have to thank my wife for elaborately designing all this. I told her the information I wanted on it, and then she put it all together. But first, we wanted to create trade posting cards, which is what is here, where you can record data on each and every trade, from when it opens to when it closes, strategies for the trade, trading psychology, and notes, and of course, your profit and loss statistics. So very much like they have trade cards on the floor of the exchanges, or at least they used to. That's all going electronic now, but at least they used to. This would be the same kind of information, all right? You put the symbol in. This is for stocks, but we have ones for Forex. You can use one for options and futures as well. So there's a trade posting card depending on the market you trade. But you want to put in the symbol, the actual close date goes in on the close. You indicate whether it's a day trade or a position trade up there, whether you're long or short. So all that information, all right, is very detailed about the trade. And the great thing about that is that when you actually close out the trade and it's a month or two away, from in the future, and you go back and take a look at the trade, you can actually see all the details of it. So it's good to have all the statistics. And here's all your stop loss information that can go down in here. And then also your trading notes here. So let's say you took a trade based on your trading system. You can talk a little bit more about that. You can also put some of your emotions here and so forth. And then when you go back and check your trading, you can actually see what trade posting cards did the best for you. all right, and what didn't. And from that, you're going to learn also a lot about what style works for you and what doesn't. All right, so really helpful information all on this trade posting card. But guess what? We're not done yet. We've got a lot more information to cover. So the second thing, all right, and I mentioned this already, is that we have trade posting cards for stocks, options, futures, and Forex, okay? So depending on what markets you're trading, there's a trade posting card for you. But then we go on and we use ledgers. We have a what we call a trade ledger. And this is where you can record data from a micro level to a macro level. And the micro is the daily ledger, and the macro is the annual ledger. So what do we mean by that? Okay, so if you take a look at this ledger here, basically the information, the P&L information that you get from the trade posting card gets put on this ledger. And this is a daily trading ledger. You can see that right up here. So what you have listed is open positions, all right, and trades filled for the day. Okay, new trades filled the day. So these are positions being carried over, and these are new ones. And then you can have down here your largest winning trade. If you closed any out, your largest losing. So we keep statistics down in here. And if you have more than these number of trades, just use another page, okay? You use 2 pages of daily trade ledgers. So you can never run out, so to speak. All right, then the next thing is what we call the daily worksheet. And this is actually something that you can use, especially if you're a day trader. You can place in placed orders. So these are orders that are placed, not yet filled. And so this information can go in here. And so you may have a lot of orders being waiting to be filled. All right, so they're not open. All right, so they're placed trades. But this is how you can keep track of everything, even if you're a day trader or a position trader. All right, and if you have a good till canceled order that you have in with your broker that hasn't been filled, you just carry that position over each and every day to the daily worksheet. All right, so that's it. And then we keep going. Then we have the weekly trade ledger. And the weekly trade ledger is going to be basically a culmination of all those day trading ledgers, and we put it into an easy format so we can take a quick glance of the weekly totals. And this is really helpful too, so when you get to Friday and get this thing all filled out, then you're going to know how you did really quick for the week. And again, there's a place to put notes down here, largest winning trades and so forth for the week. And then of course you can also analyze which trade posting cards basically housed those winning trades. You're going to learn a lot about your style of trading that way. All right, so we're not done quite yet. All right, so the next thing we're going to take a look at is the monthly trading ledger. And this is where you're going to take the weekly results and put them into a monthly ledger. So you can take a look and see how, at a glance, how well you did for the month. Now, what's interesting, okay, is when you take a look at these months. So for example, if you have month 1, all right, and you had a really good month, you go down into the weekly ledger that we just looked at and see what week in the month was really good. Maybe they all were, maybe there was just 1 week. And then from there, you can go to the daily ledger and see what days were really good. And maybe you're going to see a pattern that you trade better on certain days than others. Then you can go down to the trade posting card and see what exact trades did well. So you can literally go from a macro to a micro analysis of your trading, or vice versa. And it's really kind of cool to be able to do that quickly like this. All right, so the next thing we're going to take a look at is the annual trade ledger. Yes, the annual. We have an annual too. And on the annual trade ledger, all right, there may be some open positions we're carrying forward from 1 year to the next. All right, and new trades filled here. We put all that information in again. And then we go on to, all right, analysis. Now, before we talk about spending 15 minutes tracking your data, one of the things I think that's important with filling out the forms, it's no good unless you fill them out. So it really starts with, after each trading day, all right, go through your trade posting cards and fill them out properly. Now, another thing I used to do is I used to have 2 boxes on my desk. I used to have an open box and a closed box. And the open box, obviously, were all the trade posting cards of open trades. And when I closed an open trade out, I take that trade posting card out of the open box and I'd put it into the closed box. And then I fill out the ledgers, of course, as well. And then any placed orders that weren't filled were on my worksheet. So I always knew exactly by going through, by looking at the boxes and the thing, exactly where I stood all the time. And it was a real good way to organize everything. All right, so now let's talk about number 2 here and talk about spending some time doing this. And this is an example of filling out some of this information here. Here's an annual trade. Here's something, for example, in January, this is an example, 46 trades, 21 were winning, 25 losing, gross commissions. I mean, you just fill it out and in a heartbeat, okay, again, if you have a really good month, all right, like let's say we had January is a pretty good month. We also had October, okay, in this example. And we could go down and actually take a look at and see from a micro level, go right down to the micro trade posting cards, which trades produce the best results. And that's going to actually be very helpful for your trading. All right, so you always want to keep an eye on the ball, so to speak, when it comes to your trading performance statistics. I think it's really important to realize that, because it's really important to get distracted very, very easily. All right, so let me ask a question for folks out there, and let me see what kind of answers I get here. What is anybody using any type of record keeping now other than their brokerage accounts? Because what we like to do with this is also check our brokerage statements too. From this information, we can keep an eye on that. So let me just take a look at some of the answers here. Looks like pretty much everybody is, I would say probably from what I can see here is that some are and some aren't, okay? Some are and some aren't. So I think the ones that aren't, okay, you need to do this. It's really gonna help your trading. All right, now, some of the results you can get from keeping the trade posting cards up to date as well as the ledgers, all right, is you can take a look at what we call the Trading Scorecard. And basically, this is going to give you your win ratio and payoff ratio, which are absolutely needed in terms of calculating the amount of risk you want to take on each trade. That's really important. If you want to learn more about how we use each one of these figures, then we have a great book for you called the Traitors Money Management System, available at Amazon, that you probably should pick up, because it's going to cover how these statistics can help you actually be a better trader. All right, so you get a lot of statistics here, and it's one thing to have statistics, it's another thing to know what to do with those statistics. So that's one of the key things that I think you're going to need to learn. All right, you need to watch your equity curve and adapt to trading when needed. All right, so obviously you want an equity curve that's going up. All right, and this is a caption of right out of the book. But by the same token here, you can certainly see when you're heading on up like that, you can certainly get an idea of analyzing the type of trading that's leading to that type of increase in equity curve versus maybe sometime when you were struggling. So I think as a trader, we're constantly needing to look at our trading results and see if there, did I have any emotions mixed in with my trading that may have caused my equity curve to stall or go down, or was it just a normal decline based on normal trading? All right, so it's, there's a lot of issues that can emotionally that can cause traders big problems, especially when they trade so well from a paper trading or simulated standpoint, and then go into the markets with real money and then don't understand why they're not doing as good as when they paper traded. It's usually because of emotions. They're not trading the same way because emotions are getting in the way of making objective decisions like they would have made easily when simulating their trades. All right, so every week look for clues within your trading stats to create a more profitable outcome. And that's what record keeping can do for you. And it's really important. And again, here's the book that I'm going to recommend everybody get on Amazon that's going to really be able to help them. I give you a lot of formulas in here on how to calculate your trade size or position size on each and every trade, how to use your win to loss percentages and your payoff ratios, and create, all right, a scenario based on your current performance on how much trade risk you should be taking on each and every trade. So a lot of good stuff in that book, and it's very inexpensive and available at Amazon. So it's a trader's money management system. All right, so to wrap it up here, okay, whether you hire someone to do your record keeping or do it yourself, and I really recommend doing it yourself, because when you put pencil to the paper and you're doing it but yourself, all right, it's going to have more meaning, and you're going to really see things are going to pop out at you that somebody doing it for you, all right, just won't get. All right, so really important to do it, okay? Your trading performance will improve drastically if you're consistent, keywords consistent, and keep your eye on the ball at all times. What we're going to do too today is very inexpensively, we have a kit that you can buy for $10, and it has these posting cards in it as well as the ledgers. And these are basically masters, and you can print from these, okay? So basically we give you a zip file with all this material in it, and you download it from our secure area and to your desktop, and then you can print them as often as you need them. So it's we tried to make this really inexpensive so everybody can get on board and do this. And I believe there's an order link that'll be up there, if not right now, in the chat area, but it's elevateyourtrading.com TA Forms webinar, okay? And for 10 bucks, almost the price of a fancy coffee at Starbucks, you can't go wrong with this, okay? It will really help you. All right, so I want to thank everybody for attending. All right, I tried to move it along, Renee, so you could get back on track here. And I appreciate you having me here today. And I'll go ahead and end it on this slide here. All right, so everybody has that link, and we can leave that up a minute or so since I'm a little bit early. And I appreciate being here, and I want to thank everybody for attending today, and I want to thank Renee for having me, okay? All right, so have a great one, everybody. And remember, record keeping, very important. All right, see you all later.